Hi everybody, my name is Alisha. In this video, I'm going to talk about using commas between adjectives. How do you know when to use one? Is it when you're writing a big, long, wordy, smart-sounding sentence? Is it when you're writing in a poetic, flowery, charming manner? Let's find out. Alright, so when do you use commas between adjectives? The answer is deceptively short. You use commas between adjectives when you use adjectives from the same category one after another. Sounds pretty simple, right? So why is this so confusing sometimes when we're writing? Because when we write, we often rely on our intuition. It's our gut feeling, the thing that tells us that something sounds good or doesn't feel quite right. When we choose adjectives, we're trying to describe a person, place, or thing, a noun, right? Adjectives describe nouns and pronouns, but there are categories of adjective. That doesn't mean synonyms or, for example, words that we use to describe people. No, not that kind of category. More broadly. We might not always be conscious of it, but we feel these different types of adjectives when we speak or write. Native English speakers and advanced learners likely use a certain adjective order when they describe nouns. For example, if I wanted to describe this book, I would probably call it a big, shiny blue book. That sounds natural, a clear description, right? But what if I called it a blue, shiny, big book? That sounds really weird, right? Really unnatural. Even though I'm using exactly the same adjectives, by placing them in a different order, I create this super weird feeling that we can immediately identify as incorrect. Why? English has a preferred word order for adjectives. Don't think of it like grammar, think of it more like a hierarchy. This is where adjective categories are important. We intuitively know which adjectives are best to use before other adjectives. For example, adjectives of size typically come before adjectives of color. That's why big shiny blue book sounds normal, but blue shiny big book sounds weird. Let's look at another example. Let's say I want to describe this notebook. I might call it a small, stylish, white Japanese notebook. That sounds pretty normal, right? But what if I called it a Japanese, stylish, white, small notebook? It sounds really weird. So weird that we almost don't know what we're talking about, right? So what does all of this have to do with commas? The rule that I mentioned earlier was, we use a comma between adjectives when we use adjectives from the same category one after another. This means that if you write something like, we stayed at a beautiful, expensive hotel, you need to put a comma between the two adjectives, beautiful and expensive. Broadly, these are quite general adjectives. They express opinion or quality, but we can think of them as belonging to the same category, so we need to put a comma between them. Here's another example. We ate an amazing, delicious Italian meal. Here, you'll see that the comma is between amazing and delicious. These two adjectives can be understood as coming from the same category. Again, they're expressing a kind of opinion. We don't have a comma between delicious and Italian because these are not from the same category. Delicious describes an opinion or a quality, and Italian refers to a place of origin. So we do not use a comma between these two adjectives. Adjectives like amazing and delicious, which belong to the same category, are what are called coordinate adjectives. Let's take a look at a couple of quick tricks you can use to decide whether you need a comma or not. Okay, there are two quick tricks that you can use, and all of my reference books noted these, so you can be sure they're worth your time. First, try changing the order of the adjectives. If you can swap the order of your adjectives and the sentence sounds the same and communicates the same meaning, they are coordinate adjectives and you need to use a comma. For example, we stayed at a beautiful, expensive hotel. And we stayed at an expensive, beautiful hotel. Both sound great. We can swap the adjective order, which means those two adjectives belong to the same category and we need to separate them with a comma. Let's look at the other example sentence. We ate an amazing, delicious Italian meal. And we ate a delicious, amazing Italian meal. Both sound good. Amazing and delicious are therefore coordinate adjectives. They belong to the same category, so we need to include a comma between them. If, however, you change the order of the adjectives and it sounds weird, like blue, shiny, big book, keep the original adjective order and omit any commas. Second, try putting an and between the two adjectives. We stayed at a beautiful and expensive hotel. We ate an amazing and delicious Italian meal. If using and sounds natural, use a comma. Here's an example where and doesn't sound natural. While we understand the sentence, it sounds really weird to separate the words this way. If you use the and trick and your sentence sounds strange or odd to you, don't use a comma between your adjectives. Alright, so that's how you decide whether you need to use a comma between adjectives or not. It's all about the adjective categories. Different books and resources will say there are different numbers of adjective categories, but generally there are about 7 to 9. If you're learning English, don't stress about trying to remember all of these categories. This is not something that native speakers are generally taught in school. Rather, it's something we pick up from listening to speech patterns and through reading. So a great way to practice this is to read. So I hope you liked this video. If you want to practice using commas with coordinate adjectives in the comments, please feel free to do so. Of course, if you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That would be very helpful for me. And subscribe to this channel for more writing, punctuation, and spelling tips. I will see you next time. Bye! A small, stylish, white Japanese notebook. But if I called it a white, what? It's so hard. Japanese, stylish, white, small notebook. It's really hard to say it out of order.